Okay, so he's Blaney versus Centaur and probably Snapfire. Luna's there, that's the core. So something that I like to think about, like when I play support with my friends, the lower friends, is whether or not the support in the core matchup, like if this lane matchup beats a 2v2. So if Luna and Ogre are like both hitting the enemy two heroes, is that favorable for them, or does the support have to break up the lane, that way the core can get a 1v1? And does that favor the core or not, right? So you kind of have to think about these matchups and be like, okay, do I need to pull the support away? Do I need to keep the lane support there and not let them pull? Like, how do I need to play the lane? And I would say that Ogre and Luna are pretty strong, especially if Luna gets Lunar Blessing, like early. I would expect that she gets it level 2. I think it's pretty trash to get it level 1, so like I'm not a fan of this Luna's build because of this. And so I think I would have to change, like, if I'm the Ogre, I have to change the way that I posture because of the Luna's like bad build. Another thing to think about is like what items did she have. So she has a lot of tangos and some stats, so she's going to be able to trade hits a little bit. You, of course, are an Ogre, so you want to trade. I didn't see if you clicked on the Centaur, but if you didn't, you should. It is Snapfire. Does she have the freaking... Oh my gosh, she has it. She has the, like, $200 set. That's crazy. So, something that I like to see supports do, especially these, like, bully you away supports, is, like, after the rune... Let's back up here. So, like, you know that you can't man up versus the Centaur and the Snapfire, but he also has stun, so, like, you don't mind trading with him a little bit. But I think, because you're such a freaking two-headed retard, that you can just go and you can just walk over here, and as they're trying to block, like, you can get more spells on the Centaur, you can get a couple hits on him. I like to see supports do that, like Jakiro's another great example, even CM. Like, just go and get a nuke, go and get a couple autos. Want to see how you draw aggro here with your attacks. That's something that I feel like supports mess up consistently. So you let the carry draw aggro. I like the way that you're using your mouse and you're not right clicking on the enemy hero to get there. I feel like a lot of people do that and they draw aggro and it messes everything up. I don't know if you knew this about aggro, but it has a cooldown even if you don't actually successfully draw aggro. So if you like draw aggro in the trees and then walk into the lane, that cooldown still applies. Like, you can't get the aggro is like a debuff on your hero. It's not something that you apply to the creeps. So like, you can aggro while you're in the trees and then you can go and hit them and you get like, from the first moment you right click him and get the aggro quote unquote debuff on yourself, you have like 3 seconds or 2 seconds or something like that to hit the enemy heroes before they aggro. So like, if you can find a juke spot in the trees where creeps can't see you, draw aggro and then run and hit them once or twice and then de-aggro. Similar to what you just did here, except you drew aggro on the range creep. So like, if you just right click him before you do that, because you're outside of aggro range, this is like a good example of when you do want to right click an enemy hero instead of do like the small mouse movements that you're normally doing to get close, because then that range creep doesn't hit you right away. Now Ogre, because of his like regen and stuff, you don't care as much about drawing aggro for the trades because they don't really damage you, but it still does push the wave. So if you notice, like, because you drew aggro on that range creep, you're like the wave pushed slightly. That's not like the only factor, obviously, so I don't think that I'm like 100% blaming you for that. But every little bit counts, and like if this melee creep or this range creep is in deny range for your Luna, then it can like help the equilibrium stay a little more consistent. Luna's doing a pretty good job of not taking too much harass needlessly. So I didn't feel like there was any need for you to like buy her a salve or something, which I think is fine.
Oh my gosh, that stun miss.
I think this trade's fine. I would be looking to, like, even this, the Snapfire's making this good. She's like leaving the lane and kind of like, even though you're low, she's not pressuring the Luna. I feel like she should be pressuring the Luna because you can't go back to the lane and trade. So like, she can stop you from pulling, that's fine. But she should be pressuring the Luna because if you're like on 100 HP and he's just chasing you around, like that's good for you. So there's no reason for you to even try to pull or like go to base. Like if he's willing to chase you and you're not going to feed, which you're not, then like let him chase you because it doesn't benefit. Like it doesn't hurt you and it doesn't benefit them. Something else to think about is like how much XP you should leech off your core. So like your power spike at level 3 is pretty good. You get quite a bit more damage on your ignite, or you double the damage on your Q. So I feel like you should either be leeching XP from your Luna to get your level 3, especially when you're this close, or you should be trying to pull and leech XP from those creeps. So you're playing a very, very good lane bully, but like you're sacrificing some of your game because of this. I think if you're playing with in like a team setting, or if you're playing with somebody you know and trust a little bit more, it's better. But in these pubs, I would hesitate to innately trust some Archon 3 Luna who like, you're not 100% sure if she's going to be able to carry the game. So I think it's okay to be a little bit greedier than you are currently playing. Fast forward a bit. Something you should practice is half pulls. I feel like half pulls are like so freaking strong right now, especially when you get good creep camps like these ghosts that will just kill it. If you can just half pull if you need to leech the XP or get the CS. Like if your carry's fine, you can. But otherwise, just half pull and run back to the lane. I think, like because of the way this Luna was playing and the enemy team just wasn't going hard that much, you can get away with like leeching some XP, but you gotta watch because the Snapfire and the Centaur should have really good kill threat. So I think you're probably playing as if the Centaur and Snapfire are better than they are, which I think is a good thing. Like if you assume the enemy's gonna make the ideal moves, then either you're prepared for it or they're doing something that isn't ideal. Kill. Oh, that's unlucky. Max is dead. So it's good to bring the core items. Looks like you're gonna get some space to get XP here. This is good. I think at this point, like if you're looking at this, no matter what goes on the map, like I don't know what's gonna happen here in a minute because I haven't watched the replay yet. But like already, your mentality should be, I am not leaving this tower, like no matter what. Somebody has to be here. Somebody has to be dealing with it, and it's just way too good of an opportunity. Even if you could TP mid, and like, unless you're gonna freaking get a triple kill by TPing mid, there's no way that that leaving this lane is a good idea. Like I see no reason for you to do this. I think it's better if you just stay top. You're way too low level. Like Mirana should be the one making the moves with the team right now because she is strong and you are not strong, which means you should be the one sitting in the lane that nobody wants to sit in and soaking XP. You'll probably have some reason for why you do what you did, but that's just what should happen. It's kind of up to the enemies to push people out of the safe lane because like you should want to stay there. Like we talk about playing in the enemy safe lane because you want to push the enemy out of their safe lane, but like the reality is that you also want like your core ideally sits in their own safe lane, but if it's not safe for them, then somebody needs to be sitting there and Like, generally, that should be the least important person on the team, which, like, right now is you. Like, you're the weakest. You contribute the least to fights. It's just important for you to get your levels. I'm okay with your build for the most part. The scaling on Bloodlust is not that good. So I think... trying to think if I was playing Luna what I would want you to do. Most likely, the reality is that getting Max in Ignite is better because of the enemy heroes. Like, it really kind of just cucks Centaur. He can never blink because of Ignite. Shaman gets really slow, like PA will just burn and die. Like, Bloodlust is really nice to your cores. But if Luna's just farming, which is what she should be, the additional 10 attack speed just... Like, I don't feel like it's that worth, and you should be playing away from your Luna anyway. Because, like, you keeping waves pushed allows your Luna to get more farm than if you're following her around the map, making sure she has an additional 30 or 40 attack speed. So, just, like, think about, like, in these situations, just think about how the game is going and how much you can pressure the map versus how much you just have to buff your core. So I feel like Max Bloodlust is like a very good example of we're getting stomped and my Luna has to be able to get as much farm as possible, and I'm just sitting behind my Luna trying to cast spells and trying to keep her buffed, and like that's probably a better example of when Bloodlust is good because you can't go to the waves. And I could be completely wrong about that, and maybe Ignite is even better in that situation because it helps you deal with the waves even more, but I don't know. I think once you get a single point in Bloodlust, the next 3 points, like the only thing it does is double the attack speed, and then it gives you a couple % more on the move speed, and the duration doesn't change or anything. It's and like the cooldown's fine. I think Ignite just to keep waves pushed is so much better. Played 1,000 games with you, I always feel like you fight well and you like you itemize correctly and you consider your cores pretty well. I feel like the thing that you tend to do is be a little bit too sacrificial. So if you want to play Sacrificial 5, save that for games where you have a greedy core like me. The good news is your team is owning, like P is at the bottom of the course. Your Mirana is pretty deep farmed compared to the other supports. You spend a lot of your time walking back and forth on the bottom. I don't know why you're doing this. Should you go with the max Bloodlust? Let me look at the player levels. I want to compare it to us. Somebody there. Yeah, like you're not behind in the sense that like other supports are doing better, but I feel like if I was watching a really high rank player play support, he would be closer to like level 12 if he was Ogre. Like he would also be high level. And he would have prioritized his own game a little bit more. And I think that comes from not having max Ignite to push waves and sit in trees. Like honestly, like if you can't sit top, then like just sit wherever the heck your Luna doesn't want to be, and press W on the waves. Even if you don't get the CS, just like stand in the trees, press W. If they come and kill you, like it's fine. Like you haven't fed, you've only got 3 deaths in 21 minutes. Like that's more than acceptable. But I feel like Ogre just does so well with levels. He does pretty well with farm as well, but like levels is just really what this hero needs. I think it's fine that you get the cast range. If you were going to get the ignite talent, you would have max ignite. So I like that you're adjusting your build to what you feel like the situation is, even if I disagree with the max build list. Glimmer is really, really good this game. Completely counters like all of their cores. PA and Morphin will never carry dust.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen. Radiant's bottom tower is
Sometimes you gotta feed to protect your cores. It's just life. Something you do really well that I'm noticing is I'm just watching your player perspective. I feel like I'm aware of everything that's happening on the map. Like your camera placement's always really good. I always feel like I know where the fight is. You've got your Glimmer. I think you should start going for an item that protects yourself. Probably a Ghost this game. If you Ghost and Glimmer yourself in fights, like you're not gonna die. If PA goes on you and you react quickly, that's good. So I don't know how much control you have over your team. You don't really see that many people. You get the Glimmer off on your Night Stalker if you're getting chased.
What in the world? That wow.
Yikes. Yeah, I feel like you guys played. I feel like you played this fight like absolutely perfectly. I think you may have gotten a little bit too ham like in the beginning, and I think you got lucky. PA didn't kill you right here. Like I think walking into stun is pretty risky. Like, I really do think you used to yeah. PA did not come up that hard. The camera move that was kind of saved you there. She also BKB'd right before she even went into the fight. Either way, great fight. Minor positioning flaw, but it's for them. It's easy there. Okay. Let's watch this one. Quadruple buyback.
Worthy tribute.
Should be feeling pretty good about that.
Now they will suffer. Now they will suffer.
I think you have to abandon him there, man, to be honest. Like, the Snapfire's there, she's got True Sight. If anyone's gonna have True Sight, it's gonna be like the Snapfire or the Shaman. Like, I understand the desire to protect your cores, but Like, if he gets out on 1 HP, it looks really cool. I think it's just too much of a risk. I think it's just unrealistic that you're able to save him there and get out. Like, obviously, you should be willing to make the trade for him to live and you to die, but... Good. I like that you're pulling the wave. Recognizing the objective. Chasing after kills that are secured.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
We haven't really talked too much about warding. I didn't pay a lot of attention to that. I feel like your
Eager to know
warding is fine whenever I've played games with you, and I'm just simply not a support player. Something I would think about now is, like, the next major team fight is going to happen around Roche, so getting vision and preparation for that is going to be really important, and making sure that, like, you need to be postured around Roshan, like, yourself at all times. Good. There's fine. Smart and knocks us off the dust. So I want to talk about how I like the first part of what you were doing here, and then kind of messed it up a little bit. So you should be playing like the vision and the sides of the fight. So like here, like walking up, this is fine, but I feel like you should be walking like this way into the trees. Have great vision in this area because of the Night Stalker. And like, you kind of want the enemy heroes to go on you because you want to tank abilities as a support, like for the most part, but you want to make it like as absolutely difficult as possible. So you stun the Morph who's here, and then you kind of like stick around this area, but I think if you walk up and into the trees, or even if, like, let's say you walk down or something, I'm not really sure what would instinctively come to your mind, but if you can like fog them a little bit, it makes it that much harder for the enemy team to kill you, and it's more likely that you'll be able to get a second wave of your spells off or something. So probably wouldn't have mattered that fight, but just something to consider in other fights. Good that you're playing back. Just get your spells off in the base defense. It's really scary to defend base as a support versus PA because they're W casting. I'm not sure what you're thinking about for items since you don't have anything queued up. I feel like it's a mistake on a support if you don't need buyback, or if you don't have it because you bought already, to save up this much gold. So, like, I think Ghost is pretty damn good this game. If you don't get burst by the E-Blade combo, Ghost basically prevents everything else, along with the Glimmer Cape. Another option is, like, if you're working towards a Hex or something big like that, then I think that's fine, and it's okay for you to save the gold up if you're working towards that. But just because I don't see it in your quick buy, I don't know what you're thinking mentally, but it's like, at this point, I would personally I would have either bought an item that allowed me to survive in fights, like a Ghost, or I would be looking to buy a big item in order to kind of like YOLO a fight or something. You know, you're going to run in, you're going to get some crazy Hex on the Morphling and win the game because of it. At any rate, the game has been thrown back and forth enough, but it's favoring you guys right now. Worth. I feel like this should not be the case where you're 10k ahead and you're still the lowest net worth. I think a lot of the running back and forth, like in the mid game, like cost you some of your game, and more of the same. I feel like you just play a little bit too sacrificial in the early to mid game. BVK was kind of the opposite. He would sacrifice his carry in order to get farm. Yamsol style. But you have a lot of wave push, and you only have 26 last hits. Like, there's gotta have been a jungle camp or a wave or something that leads to farm. So I don't think I'm gonna watch the rest of this. You guys just kind of close out the game because they buy and you kill them. But yeah, I think main takeaways are the watch the aggro mechanic and the laning phase. That's something that you should consider because it will really help you make trades versus these other supports that aren't considering that kind of stuff. And when you're not playing a beefy hero like Ogre and you're playing something more squishy, let's say like a Crystal Maiden, then that mechanic just becomes exponentially more important because you get so punished if you make that mistake. And then the other thing is just be greedier with your early mid game. I think especially in pubs, there's a lot of benefit to getting items on yourself, since that's the only thing you can control. And you don't want to grief your Luna's farm. The opposite is you want to go and farm in the places where Luna can't. And even if you die, let's say you have 3 more deaths this game, but your net worth is 3k higher because you got 5 to 10 waves with every death. Maybe not 5 to 10, but let's say I don't know, 30 CS or something. With every single extra death, you get another 30 CS. I think that's a decent enough trade to where you're willing to sacrifice your life or 2 in order to pull attention and pressure off of the map, off of your team, and give yourself some net worth. If we look at the Shaman's last hits or the Mirana's last hits, they just have significantly more last hits than you. And I think a lot of that is by not staying in the safe lane after your Luna left and getting the CS from there, and then you made this walk top to bottom probably 3 or 4 times, and I think you could have reduced that. So those are my thoughts.